What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to go over the top 5 pros and the top 5 cons of living in Sebastian, Florida. We're going to dive deep into that right after this. What's going on, guys? My name is Andrew Pinch. I'm a local realtor down here in beautiful Vero Beach, Florida and Sebastian, Florida. So just pretty much the whole Treasure Coast. If you're looking for a channel that goes over how to live, eat, sleep, play, and buy real estate anywhere on the Florida East Coast, then please tap that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified every single week when I upload a new video. I'm getting calls from people every single day and I love it. So if you have any questions or concerns about relocating down here to Vero Beach, Florida, then please give me a call, shoot me a text, or send us an email, because we promise we'll have your back when moving to the Florida East Coast. Alright guys, so now it's time to jump into the video of the top 5 pros and the top 5 cons of living in Sebastian, Florida, which is just north of Vero Beach. So let's just go ahead and dive into the video and start off with the number 5 pro of living in Sebastian, and that is the traffic is not very bad when compared to the rest of the state of Florida. So Sebastian, Florida and Vero Beach, Florida both are more on the smaller end of towns. We're definitely not up there with the Orlandos, the Miamis, the Naples, the Sarasotas of Florida. But listen, we've got plenty to do. There's enough to choose from as far as whenever it comes to livability. In fact, livability on both Vero Beach and Sebastian will probably come close to either an A+ or an A- when you go on to one of the websites that gives you the livability of living in either one of these towns. So the Treasure Coast, actually, it's got plenty to offer. It's got a lot of things, but one of the biggest pros is we do not have a lot of the traffic that the other bigger cities have. So that's my number 5 pro, is that the traffic actually is not that bad. The population is pretty low when compared to other towns and other cities in Florida. All right, guys, so sorry I had to put Cannon back down. He's actually in the middle of teething right now, so he couldn't hang for the whole video. He's starting to get a little bit fussy. But anyway, so that brings me back into the number 5 con of living in Sebastian, and that would be Sebastian might be just a little bit too small of a town for you. So if you're used to the constant hustle and bustle of nightlife going on 24/7, things to always choose from, restaurants that don't close until 11 p.m., 12 a.m., and sometimes even go further than that. So I know when we go to downtown Orlando, after the bars close at 2 a.m., we could always go out and we could find some pizza or something on the bar strip or on downtown at like 2:30, and even up to 3 o'clock in the morning. So now if that's the type of thing that you're looking for, we do have 24-hour restaurants. Of course, we've got some drive-thrus that are 24/7. We've got the good old Taco Bell. So anyway, I don't want to go too much into the nightlife here in Vero Beach and Sebastian, but it might just be a little bit too small for you if that's the type of lifestyle that you're leaving to come over here if you're a younger family. Honestly, it attracts a lot of starter families, so families in their 30s all the way up until retirees in their 60s and 70s is usually where the age groups are kind of falling into whenever looking into both of these towns. So great for, like I said, families just getting on a start and want to find a nice affordable place in Florida to live. I've gone over in the top 5 neighborhoods video when I mentioned Sebastian Highlands could be a great place for you to find a house in the lower to mid 200s. And it, of course, can go a lot higher than that, but that's just for the nice starter homes, for ones that might need a little bit of work or could use some sweat equity in it. But that's just right now the January or February 2022 pricing that we've seen has kind of stayed pretty consistent with that. So it might be a little bit too small of a town for you. There's not as much to do, even when compared to Vero Beach. Vero Beach has the downtown options. We've got Ocean Drive. We got a lot of things to choose from there. The restaurant choices are really dialed back, and it's definitely a lot of more smaller family-owned restaurants, which I don't have a problem with. I live in Sebastian in a heartbeat like that. I have no issues supporting the smaller family-owned operations. The hole-in-the-wall places are usually where you get the best food anyway, and that stuff doesn't bother me. And plus, you've got the world-class fishing here and beautiful waters that comes with the inlet. And so that brings me into my number 4 pro, actually, is that you have access to an inlet in Sebastian. So Vero Beach and Sebastian, so Vero Beach is in between both of the inlets. So there's the Fort Pierce Inlet in the south. There is the Sebastian Inlet in the north. So with the Sebastian Inlet, hence the name, if you're living in that town and you're in a house, let's say like the River Boat Club, for instance. River Boat Club has great options, has 2-story houses between 3,000 to 4,000 square feet, and some of them have pools, and a lot of them, actually all of them, have either docks or boat lifts that come with the house, so with a very low HOA too, so that's why I think it's such a great option. But anyway, you're just about 10 minutes drive from boat, about a 10-minute drive to be out of the inlet and into the ocean if you want to go do some deep sea fishing, go catch some sailfish, mahi-mahi, and troll up and down the shores for some kingfish. So you're just about 10 minutes away from that when compared to Vero Beach if you wanted to go offshore. If you're living on the water and you have a boat lift and you just drop it down the water, you're probably about 20 to 25 minutes either way, regardless of if you want to go to Fort Pierce or Sebastian to have access to that inlet for you to go offshore. So one pro for Sebastian over Vero Beach is that it has its own inlet. All right guys, so now it's time to jump into the number 4 con of living in Sebastian, Florida. And this is the one that everybody says. I have a hard time finding cons, to be honest with you. You know, when you live here and you moved away and you come back and things are just so much better than what they were definitely in Orlando. That's the only thing I'm really comparing it to, because I've only lived in 2 places, and that's Vero Beach and Orlando, and I've spent a lot of time in Sebastian, especially recently since starting to selling more and more houses in Sebastian, Florida, with it being more affordable, and that is one of the pros we're going to go over. But anyway, so to backtrack, this is the things that everyone says in every single video, and that is that Florida is just hot and humid. So if you're somebody who can tolerate the heat and the humidity, or maybe you've taken some regular trips down here in the summertime, not during the season. We have the most beautiful weather out of anyone in the country during the season. But what I'm saying is, if you spend some time here in the summer, or you're coming from somewhere like maybe South Texas, like Houston, Texas area, and you're making your relocation over here, so that should be a breeze for you since the climates are pretty similar. But if you're coming from, let's say, somewhere in the Midwest where the humidity is low, and where the temperatures definitely get a lot colder than they do here in Vero and in Sebastian area, you're definitely going to run into some issues adjusting to the climate here, and it's going to be an adjustment period for sure. So that's a short one. It's the number 4 con of living in Sebastian, Florida, is it's just hot and humid. All right, so now it's time to jump into the number 3 pro of living in Sebastian, Florida, and that's when compared to Vero Beach, Sebastian season, so anytime between October and March, it's definitely going to be a lot slower in Sebastian, Florida than it is in Vero Beach. So Vero Beach has always had kind of the reputation of being the Hamptons of Florida, and that's definitely drawn a little bit more of a crowd than Sebastian, Florida has, being more of a fishing village, Margaritaville type of feel. Honestly, if you've taken a trip down to the Keys and you notice that everyone there is just in shorts, t-shirts, flip-flops, and likes to have a maybe a beer or two almost every single night and just relax and have just that type of lifestyle and vibe, old Florida, not a care in the world type of feel, well, that's more Sebastian, when in comparison Vero Beach is a little bit more, I'm not going to say upscale, but we definitely have a lot more options to choose from as far as shopping. The shopping is definitely a little bit more expensive, more boutique. It brings in a lot more of the higher cost brands and shops to be put onto our Ocean Drive area. When you go to Sebastian, you've got the Captain Hiram's, and that type of vibe and lifestyle is kind of brought throughout the entire place. So Captain Hiram's, if you've never been there before, most of it is actually just sitting on the sand, looking at the river. You've got great drink specials there. You can pull up your boat and you can dock it, walk up, grab a cheeseburger with some live music, and then that's really the type of lifestyle that Sebastian as a whole like to adopt when going off of that. So the season, a lot of the people I've noticed whenever they're coming from New York, New Jersey, they wanted things a little bit more upscale. They wanted more of the HOA neighborhoods or the condos that take care of everything, when Sebastian is definitely a more local, old Florida town. So the season does not get as busy in Sebastian as it does in Vero Beach, which I definitely think is a pro, being a Floridian myself. All right guys, so now it's time to jump into the number 3 con of living in Sebastian, Florida, and that is the raising insurance costs. And this is through Florida throughout. I mean, this is not just Sebastian alone. Florida as a whole is definitely seeing a lot more of insurance costs rising. I'm not sure what it is on a national scale, but definitely things have been going up or statewide whenever it comes to insurance costs. So I know that if you locked in your insurance, a lot of people who locked in their insurance maybe 10, 20 years ago, and they're not paying as much, they're either getting huge pricing spikes, maybe even close to double as to what they were paying before, or they're just getting dropped altogether from their insurance companies. So it's a big problem here in Florida right now. I know we're in a 2017 concrete block house, so we're paying about roughly about $3,000 a year, a little over $3,000 a year for insurance, and that's for the entire exterior of the building. Of course, we've got the roof, which is a fairly new roof, and everything inside. If you wanted to go to a condo, a lot of those HOA fees, yes, they're going to be more expensive, and it's probably going to be a wash at the end of the day whenever thinking about the HOA and the condo association fees for the master insurance on the exterior of the property. But your insurance, your personal insurance, is probably going to be a lot less because you're just covering the interior walls. So, but as a whole, if buying a single family home is something that you're interested in doing, the insurance costs are definitely spiking here in the state of Florida. Just something to look out for. Or if, I've heard a lot of people just saying our insurance is actually pretty cheap because it washes out, or it's a wash whenever compared to the crazy high property taxes that you have to pay up north in those states like New York and states like California. So that really sums it up. And so number 3 was raising insurance costs and the weather risks. All right, guys, so now it's time to jump into the number 2 pro of living in Sebastian, Florida. And that is, it kind of goes back to my, the season isn't as busy and more old Florida, is that it is a very laid back environment and the people here are very, very nice. So yes, you're gonna see the Hawaiian shirts. Yes, you're just gonna see the tank tops, the flip flops, the board shorts, and that's just gonna be common wear going to grocery stores. That's gonna be what's gonna be worn when going out to a lot of the dinners. And it's going to be what's going to be worn whenever you go out to Captain Hiram's and you're sitting at the bar and listening to live music. That's really what we're wearing year round. And honestly, I kind of wanted to adapt to that lifestyle too. I've always loved it. It's what I grew up around. And yes, Vero Beach is a little bit more of play dress up and go out to the nicer, more expensive bars. But Sebastian, I consider that a pro because with my lifestyle, I don't really go out to that type of stuff anyway. And I like the more relaxed and enjoyable type of feel too that you get with Sebastian, Florida. So that's my number 2 pro, is that the people here are just really friendly, really nice, and it's very laid back, more real environment in comparison to a lot of other places in Florida. So number 2, laid back, nice people. All right, so now it's time for the number 2 con of living in Sebastian, Florida, and that is there's not as many shops, there's not as many restaurant opportunities, or just anything else kind of in between than there is when compared to Vero Beach or any other bigger city in Florida. So yes, it's a little bit more of a sleepier town, but like I said before, kind of towards the video, the beginning of the video, is that it's a lot more mom and pops. It's definitely a lot more of those hole in the wall type of restaurants where if you really found a hidden gem, something that you just, not a national chain, not a big chef owned, historically known and globally known type of restaurants, you're not going to see that here in Sebastian. You're going to see the local favorites. When you go, regardless of what time or day that you go, you're probably going to be seeing the same people there, and the waitresses and the waiters will know you by your first name if you go more than 2 or 3 times in the span of a week or so. So it's just a place where you can make really good friends. It's a place where everyone gets along and has a good time and appreciates the smaller family mom and pop type of shops here. So I like that personally. Vero Beach, like I was saying, is we have a lot more of the chains, but we still have a ton of mom and pops there too, where it's the same type of vibe with Sebastian, just a little bit probably more upper scale. And then on the money sign ratings, if you Google any of these restaurants, in Vero Beach, you're probably going to have a lot more of those money signs. So 3 or 4 for the family-owned higher scale restaurants. When in comparison to Sebastian, you're looking at the pizza shops. And maybe a guy who moved down from New York, opened up a pizza shop with his family, and it's amazing. Or Italian restaurants, or even a sandwich shop. So my favorite place in Sebastian, every time I visit, I've always got to stop by the Sandwich Shack. And the Sandwich Shack is just a really cool place. It's a mom and pop. The food there is amazing. It's right off of US 1, super convenient location. And if you're sitting in the right seat, you've even got a view of the river. So there's a lot of cool places like that built into Sebastian, but I'm just naming off one of them. And when you come down here and visit yourself, you can see all the options that we have to offer there as well. So number 2 con was not as many shopping options as there is in Vero Beach or the other bigger cities in Florida. All right guys, so now it's time to jump into the number 1 pro of living in Sebastian, Florida, and that is it is more affordable than Vero Beach. So you get more square footage for your money here in Sebastian. You can pick between a lot more of the non-HOA communities like the Sebastian Highlands. So the Sebastian Highlands is a huge area where the median sales price is just right around $250,000 when it compared to Vero Beach. The median sales price right there is about $310,000. So you've got a pretty good sized gap, a pretty sizable gap of the median sales price between Sebastian and Vero Beach. So the gap is definitely tightening a little bit though when compared to Vero Beach, that the median sales price, but you can still get a lot more house for your money. You can get the square footage and even places on the river. So if that's something that you're looking for too, if you want to have a place on the river, Vero Beach, you're probably going to be really lucky if you can find a single family home for under $1 million that sits on the river with that deep water canal access. In Sebastian, you've got a lot more other places with private boat ramps, private boat docks, and even your own lift possibly, where you can get into that house with bigger square footage for less money. So yes, you're not as conveniently located in Sebastian that you are with Vero when it comes to shopping and just conveniences, but there are plenty of other Publixes, grocery stores, things like that in Sebastian that offers as well as Vero Beach, but you're just not getting as much as the activity that you are in Vero, and not as many things going on all the time 24/7. So that is the number 1 pro though, is that you get more house for your money, and if you want to live on the water, you can definitely be in there for under $1 million in a very nice house with that waterway access. All right guys, so now it's time to jump into the number 1 con of living in Sebastian, and that is there are no real tourist attractions. So this kind of counteracts my last pro, is that the season does not get as busy, but that also could be a con for a lot of people because we don't really have anything that should attract tourists. We don't have any of the any rides, we don't have theme parks, we don't have things that attract people like the bigger malls, and just really honestly, it's just a very laid back, relaxed atmosphere. This is where you come to, kick up your feet, have a couple drinks, enjoy yourself, maybe take the boat out, go offshore. This is a sports fishing definitely haven because you're right there on the inlet. You could be out in the Atlantic coast or off the Atlantic coast in just a matter of 10-15 minutes or so. But if you're looking for just like non-stop activities to do 24/7, you're probably going to be pretty disappointed whenever visiting Sebastian. So just realize that it's definitely just a more laid-back lifestyle. We don't have the tourist attractions, but we also don't have the busyness that comes with having those types of attractions and things that brings in a lot of the revenue that comes to Florida during the season. So number 1 con is that we don't have the tourist attractions here in Sebastian, Florida. So guys, that wraps up my video here, the top 5 pros and the top 5 cons of living in Sebastian, Florida. I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you're looking for a realtor or anyone to help you out when relocating here to Vero Beach or Sebastian, and you have any questions or concerns about doing so, then please do not hesitate to give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, because I promise I'll have your back when relocating to Florida. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next week.